The movie Glass Onion opens with a group of friends each receiving an enigmatic, intricately designed mystery box. The first to receive it is Claire, the ambitious governor of Connecticut, followed by Lionel, Alpha's lead scientist. Bertie, a renowned fashion entrepreneur, and her diligent assistant Peg are also recipients, as are Duke, an influential social media personality, and his girlfriend Whiskey. After the group collaborates to solve the elaborate puzzles hidden in the box, it reveals an invitation from their eccentric billionaire friend, Miles Braun, inviting them to his secluded private island for a murder mystery game centered around his own death. However, this is not just any gathering of old friends. Benoit Blanc, the world-famous detective known for solving impossible cases, also receives an unexpected invitation. As the friends prepare to board the lavish yacht to the island, a figure from their past unexpectedly arrives, Andy, who had a significant falling out with the group. Lionel, puzzled, shares with Blanc that Andy and Miles were once co-founders of the tech giant Alpha, but after a bitter legal battle, Miles managed to cut Andy out of the company and seize full control. Upon arriving at the island, Miles greets his guests warmly, but his welcoming smile falters when he spots both Blanc and Andy. Although Miles is baffled by Blanc's presence, he only created 5 invitation boxes. He quickly embraces the twist of fate, intrigued by the thought of having a renowned detective join his murder mystery game. He sent all his staffs on holiday so they can enjoy a great weekend while playing the game, leaving a robot dog to carry the luggage. As Miles leads the group on a tour, he proudly showcases the villa's most unique feature, the top floor shaped like a colossal glass onion. Later, in a private conversation, Miles questions Blanc's unexpected appearance. Blanc admits that he did not receive a box from Miles himself, indicating that someone among the friends had sent it. The identity of this person remains shrouded in mystery, but Miles, ever the showman, is thrilled by the unexpected presence of a real detective and formally welcomes Blanc into the game. At an evening gathering, Miles grandiosely boasts about how he has elevated each of their lives. He claims credit for Lionel's meteoric rise to head scientist at Alpha, Claire's successful political career, Duke's skyrocketing fame on social media, and Bertie's entrance into the fashion world. This self-congratulatory display creates visible tension among the friends, their forced smiles failing to hide their discomfort. Suddenly, Andy's cold, piercing voice cuts through the room. She stands and confronts Miles, accusing him of ruthlessly ousting her from Alpha and seizing power that was rightfully shared. Her words hang heavy in the air, amplifying the tension as she calls out the others for siding with Miles and betraying her for their own selfish gains. As night falls, the true party begins. The guests are dressed in glamorous attire, and anticipation fills the air as Miles takes them deeper into his villa. He reveals a stunning surprise, the iconic Mona Lisa, hanging in a protective case on the wall. With a sly grin, Miles reveals that he helped the French with an astronomical sum as a loan. He then holds up a translucent crystal and announces it as Clear, a revolutionary energy source that he claims will resolve the global energy crisis. He boasts that this tiny amount of clear powers his entire island, showcasing his audacity and ambition. Miles begins the murder mystery game over dinner, but it is abruptly derailed when Blanc, with razor-sharp intuition, solves the game in mere moments. He declares Bertie as the intended culprit based on subtle clues embedded in the setup. An amused yet frustrated Miles questions Blanc's motives. The detective, with a steely gaze, reveals that he intentionally disrupted the game, fearing that one of the guests might use the staged mystery as an opportunity to commit a real crime. Tensions spike when Andy joins the room. Her presence is a stark reminder of the fractures within their group. Claire, unable to contain her anger, confronts Andy, accusing her of unfairly judging them. Andy, eyes blazing, counters with accusations of betrayal and greed, insisting that they all enabled Miles's fraudulent rise to power at her expense. Duke confronts Andy, accusing her of being not a victim but a loser. The harsh words ignite Andy's anger, pushing her to storm out of the gathering. Despite the clash, Miles, ever the charismatic host, encourages everyone to keep enjoying the party. Duke pulls Miles aside, showing him something on his phone and making a request, which Miles agrees to with a smile, masking any tension as he returns to the group and joins them in dancing. Moments later, Duke takes a sip from his drink, but suddenly, his body convulses, and he collapses to the floor. Panic erupts as everyone rushes to help, but the detective steps in and soon confirms what no one wanted to believe: Duke is dead. His sharp eyes narrow. This was no accident. He suspects foul play, noting the unnatural circumstances surrounding Duke's death. As the detective shares his theory, Miles's gaze lands on the glass Duke drank from. His own initials gleam on it, sending a shiver down his spine. The realization sinks in. Whoever poisoned the drink had aimed to kill him, but fate played a different hand. To make matters worse, the detective announces another discovery: Duke's gun is missing, heightening the tension. Aware of the danger closing in, Miles pleads with Detective Benoit Blanc for protection. But before any more words can be exchanged, darkness swallows the room as the lights cut out. Miles had planned this blackout as a game element to create suspense, but now it serves as a perfect veil for hidden motives. In the chaos, suspicion falls on Andy, the only one present with an open grudge against Miles. The group, driven by confusion and fear, decides to find her, with anger simmering just beneath their surface. Unbeknownst to them, Andy has already crossed paths with Detective Blanc. Their quiet conversation is interrupted when a shadow emerges, a hand clutching Duke's gun. A shot rings out, and Andy's body crumples lifelessly to the ground. The others rush in, stunned by the sight of Andy's unmoving form. The narrative shifts to a few days earlier. Andy had appeared at Benoit's residence, handing him her invitation card to the upcoming event. Only, it wasn't Andy. It was her identical twin sister, Helen. Fighting back tears, Helen explains that 4 days prior, Andy had been found dead in her garage, with the authorities ruling it a suicide. But Helen wasn't convinced. She reveals Andy's phone, showing an ominous email Andy had sent to Miles and their 4 friends. In it, a photo of Andy holding a red envelope with a chilling message. "I finally found it. This is your last chance to confess." Despite sending this revelation, Andy had received no replies. Driven by suspicion and grief, Helen searched Andy's home but failed to locate the red envelope, which suggested that someone had broken in and stolen it, someone willing to kill to keep its contents hidden. Helen's certainty points to one of the 5 friends being responsible for her sister's murder. She implores Benoit to attend the private party, and she went disguised as Andy to unearth the truth while the public remained unaware of Andy's death. The story rewinds further, revealing Andy's once close bond with Miles and their friends. They were a tight-knit group who spent countless nights at their favorite bar. One night, inspiration struck Andy, and she sketched her revolutionary idea for a tech company on a napkin, sharing it with Miles. He eagerly agreed, and together, they co-founded Alpha, which rapidly rose to success. However, their partnership soured when Miles proposed a risky venture into solid hydrogen fuel, an idea Andy opposed vehemently. In a ruthless move, Miles sued her to force her out of the company. Andy, who held the rightful claim to Alpha's inception, fought back in court. But when she was asked to present evidence of her original idea, she found that the napkin had vanished, leaving her defenseless. Desperate, Andy turned to her friends, hoping for their support. To her shock and heartbreak, they sided with Miles, betraying her for their own gain. Miles even forged a fake napkin to strengthen his legal case, ensuring Andy's defeat. But she didn't give up. Andy continued her search and eventually found the original napkin, securing it in a red envelope. She sent a photo of it with a warning to her former friends. The story catches up to the fateful day when Helen, posing as Andy, leaves the party after an argument. Claire, burdened by her political career and the stakes involved, stressed that any wrong move could spell disaster for her future. Despite her concerns, they all gathered at Helen's house, relentlessly banging on the door for hours. When no one answered, they eventually gave up. Duke later confessed that he had been the first to arrive, and had nearly been in an accident on the way. The film then shifts to the chaotic scene where the party is underway. Helen, with her nerves steeled, finds herself once again embroiled in a heated argument with the group. Yet, amidst the tension, she harbored a secret plan: to use the commotion as a cover to slip into their rooms and search for the elusive red envelope that held critical evidence. The atmosphere thickened as the lights suddenly went out, casting the mansion into darkness. Seizing the opportunity, Helen stealthily made her way outside. It was in this moment of uncertainty that she encountered Benoit Blanc. Without warning, a gunshot cracked through the air. Helen fell, struck by an unidentified assailant. But fate intervened. After mere seconds of breathless silence, she stirred, miraculously saved by the journal she had kept close to her chest, which acted as an impromptu shield. Benoit's relief was palpable when he saw her move. Composing himself quickly, he devised another strategy. Once the others had dispersed and the mansion fell into a tense lull, Helen made her move. Driven by newfound determination, she rushed to the one place she hadn't searched: the glass onion itself. Her instincts paid off. Hidden behind a photo frame, she discovered the red envelope. In the present, Detective Blanc revealed to the group that Miles was responsible for Duke's murder. The room was gripped by disbelief as Blanc recounted how Miles had slyly handed Duke a drink laced with pineapple juice, knowing well that Duke was deathly allergic. The realization hit them all. Miles had gambled on a lethal weakness to silence Duke. Just as the tension peaked, Helen stepped forward, the red envelope clutched in her hand. In a bombshell revelation, Blanc disclosed that Helen was the twin sister of Andy. The group's collective shock turned to dread as they checked the news, confirming Andy's sudden death. Blanc laid out the motives with razor-sharp precision. Duke, having spotted Miles fleeing from Andy's house that fateful day, had nearly crashed his vehicle. Though oblivious to Andy's fate at the time, Duke put 2 and 2 together when the news broke about her death. Seizing on his newfound leverage, he sought to blackmail Miles. At first, Miles appeared compliant, promising Duke whatever he desired. But the risk of exposure was too great. and Miles resorted to murder, poisoning Duke and stealing his gun to later use it against Helen. As the full, ugly truth sank in, Helen faced off with Miles, taunting him with the inevitable justice that awaited. In a swift, desperate move, Miles burns the damning note in Helen's grasp, reducing the last piece of incriminating evidence to ash. Stunned, Helen turned to the group, pleading for their support. Yet, even with the truth laid bare, they remained loyal to Miles, held fast by his wealth and power. Blanc, his part played, gave Helen a nod and pressed a clear crystal into her hand before departing. Something in that gesture lit a fire within her. Helen, emboldened by newfound rage and resilience, began shattering everything in sight. The sound of breaking glass echoed as chaos erupted. With a decisive movement, she hurled the clear crystal into the heart of the room, sparking a sudden, explosive reaction. The glass onion erupted into flames, a spectacle of fire and ruin. In the mayhem, Helen dashed toward the protective case of the Mona Lisa, slamming the button that would ensure its safety. But instead of preserving it, her act set the famous painting ablaze. Miles's wails filled the room as the masterpiece was reduced to embers. She fixed him with a cold stare, driving home the truth. His ambition, tied so tightly to his future fuel project, had destroyed one of the greatest treasures of humanity. As the inferno subsided and the scale of his defeat sank in, the others finally saw Miles for who he truly was, dangerous and untouchable no longer. One by one, they broke away, pledging to testify against him. In the final scene, Helen, victorious yet solemn, walked up to Blanc. Gratitude shone in her eyes as she acknowledged his unwavering support. The story concluded not just with justice served, but with the promise of liberation and the fall of a once untouchable power. And there you have it, the twisted, high-stakes game of deception, betrayal, and justice unraveled in Glass Onion. A knives-out mystery. Don't forget to hit that like button, share your theories in the comments, and subscribe to Movies Unboxed for more thrilling movie recaps.